You're watching KBTX TV3, Bryan College Station. Closed captioning on News Star 3 is brought to you by Union Pacific Resources. Brazos Valley, this is your news. With news anchors Tony Cornett and Sherry Williams, sports director Daryl Bruffett, and meteorologist Bob French with your weather. The News Star 3 Evening Report. This is your news.
Hello, Brazos Valley. I'm Tony Cornett. Sherry has the evening off. Well, as you just heard on the CBS Evening News, French officials now say the man driving the car in which Princess Diana was killed was legally drunk at the time of the accident, sparking questions here in the Brazos Valley about just what legal intoxication is and what's the price you pay if you're caught drunk behind the wheel. Well, here in Texas, there are plenty of stiff penalties for driving under the influence. A first DWI offense is considered a Class B misdemeanor and carries 3 days or more of jail time. The second offense carries a 30-day minimum jail sentence, and the third offense is considered a third-degree felony. In other news this evening, the Texas Department of Public Safety says the state's Labor Day weekend highway death toll has fallen short of the estimate, but just barely so. 29 people were killed in Texas traffic accidents between Friday evening and midnight last night. Investigators say alcohol may have contributed to at least 5 of those deaths. The DPS estimated that as many as 30 lives would be lost in Texas traffic accidents over the holiday weekend. This year's total is down from the Labor Day weekend of last year when 43 people died on the state's roads. Texas First Lady Laura Bush is in the Brazos Valley this evening. She'll address the Junior League of Bryan College Station about volunteerism. We spoke with her this afternoon about her role as First Lady and some of the issues she champions.
All of the national governor's spouses, including John Whitman from New Jersey, have taken breast cancer awareness as a national initiative. And now, and just after the last National Governors Association meeting last summer, they've voted to really expand it to a number of women's health issues.
Tomorrow morning on Brazos Valley This Morning, we'll hear more about Mrs. Bush and whether there's any truth to the rumors of yet another Bush making a bid for the White House. Making news around the state this evening, the suspect in a multi-million-dollar armored car robbery was arraigned today in Brownsville. 33-year-old Philip Noel Johnson was arrested Saturday at the Mexican border. He stands accused of robbing an armored car of about $22 million. That happened in Jacksonville, Florida last March. When arrested, he was carrying $10,000 in cash. The first gay and lesbian school in Texas has opened its doors in Dallas. The Walt Whitman Community School began classes today with 7 students. The school is open to all students, but tuition is a substantial $7,000 a year. Classes are temporarily being held at the Cathedral of Hope while a permanent building is refurbished. A Dallas principal who was shot during a robbery at his school last month returned to work today. Jim Nodlin was greeted with cheers and hugs. He was shot in the neck during that early morning robbery. A 19-year-old suspect was arrested the next day and is now charged with aggravated robbery. A major College Station thruway is getting a facelift. Today, city workers began tearing up Southwest Parkway between Texas Avenue and the Highway 6 bypass. The street will be resurfaced after power lines are buried along that stretch. The project is expected to take about a year to finish up. When we come back, we'll check in on some local members of the Class of 2000 as they begin their sophomore years.
Summarize it in your own words.
Join the News Star 3 sports team for Hometown Heroes 97, a series of reports previewing the 1997 high school football season in the Brazos Valley. Continuing tonight at 6 and 10 on News Star 3. Brought to you by Jimmy Copeland, Chrysler, Plymouth, Jeep Eagle, and Planters and Merchants State Bank.
The Class of 2000, brought to you by Fred Brown Mazda, BMW, Volkswagen.
It's the beginning of a brand new academic year for thousands of students in the Brazos Valley, including the 3 sophomores we're tracking for the rest of their high school careers. It's part of our Class of 2000 project. News Star 3's Jenny Lee has been following the teenagers since the beginning of their freshman years as they face different challenges. Tonight we begin with a look at our students in Bryan and College Station.
Why do you call yourself a nerd?
That's the question many have asked Tommy Hensley after seeing our Class of 2000 reports. His response?
I'm actually a aberration from the norm. I'm like, what isn't College Station?
The 15-year-old sophomore faces not only being a self-proclaimed nerd, he also has to deal with his feelings towards school. Tommy says school is still worthless and that he sees no point for at least half his classes. But one thing has changed for the better.
When you're a freshman in soccer, you're like really inferior to the rest of the world. But when you're a sophomore, you've got your gray shirt, you're like part of the team now, and you belong there, and you don't have to get through any rituals.
Tommy says he does actually like some of his classes this year, like journalism. I have to agree with him here. His journalism teacher says she expects this class, which eventually leads to working for the high school paper, to help Tommy with his interpersonal skills.
I think that will really force him to meet people. He's going to have to go out and interview people and get the information for his stories. And I think that pressure to do those things could really change him and open him up.
He's quiet. Come on, talk to me, please.
Missy Redwine just met Tommy today. He's a little too quiet for her, but thinks there's a future in their friendship.
You would think of Tommy as being a lifelong friend, but sometimes the people who you don't think would be nice friends are really nice friends.
Over in Bryan, our second class of 2000 student starts his sophomore year with a new sense of self. 15-year-old Aaron Bear faces the challenge of paying his own way for college, but Aaron says he's not worried about it.
It just doesn't concern me right now.
Aaron says he knows he should be worried about his financial future, but for right now, he just doesn't care. Aaron is not a teenager of many words.
Is good enough?
A friend calls Aaron an intelligent and nice person, but explained that most sophomores do have an attitude.
We just got finished being freshmen, so now we think we're, wonderful because we're not the low man on the totem pole anymore.
Aaron's algebra teacher says she understands where he's coming from, but stresses that Aaron will have to start thinking about his college career soon.
I think it's really hard for them to see the whole picture. All they want to see is the day-to-day activities and whether or not there's a football game or soccer practice or whatever.
But Aaron says he still has 3 years to go before he graduates and plenty of time to worry about it later. Jenny Lee, News Star 3 Evening Report.
Our Class of 2000 project continues tomorrow with a look at a sophomore student from Huntsville. Well, as I told you at the top of the newscast, my colleague Sherry Williams is... What would you say she's doing? Probably what you're doing, recovering from the telephone.
And she's doing it the right way.
And
she
you did
took
a
the
fine
day
job.
off. Well, I decided to go ahead and work through today and take off the rest of the week. How about that?
There you go.
Is that all right? Because
Sure.
we're expecting a cold front tomorrow.
Fabulous.
Yes.
Is it really going to cool off?
Yes, I think it's going to cool us off. It'll bring us rain, but we don't even have to wait for the front to bring us rain. You can tell I'm kind of still wired from the weekend, I do believe, the Labor Day telethon. We've got rain in the area right now and some pretty strong thunderstorms, so we'll take a look at Live Doppler 3 and check out the details of that cold front and our forecast coming up next.
Live Doppler 3 with Storm Tracker is brought to you in the public interest by First American Bank.
Good evening, Brazos Valley. We've got some fairly strong thunderstorms moving into parts of our area right now, especially over northern Brazos County up into Robertson, Leon, and Madison counties. These showers and thunderstorms are moving slowly toward the southwest, and although we don't have any severe weather indicated on Live Doppler 3, these are some fairly strong thunderstorms, heavy rains, possibly some gusty winds, and as you can see from the blinking lights, a lot of cloud-to-ground lightning as well, and an outside chance that one could become severe. We've had reports of a few severe thunderstorms down in the Houston, Galveston, and Fort Bend County areas as well. Other thunderstorms over extreme southeast Texas and a few others up around the Waco area. But let's zoom on in a little bit closer to the Brazos Valley. And you can see just on the north side of Bryan, actually this thunderstorm was around Wixon Valley and it's moved a little bit to the west. So right around Benchley up into Robertson County around Wheelock and on up toward the easterly area and on over into Leon County as well around Normandy and Hilltop Lakes. Again, these thunderstorms are moving slowly toward the west and southwest, and it looks like they'll continue up until about sunset, and then we should see things dying out. Also around Iola up to around North Zulch, a little bit of dying thunderstorm activity. Now, the satellite picture of the state will start off this morning because if you woke up to cloudy skies, you may have been a little surprised. That was a big patch of clouds that worked over our area this morning. We'll put this into motion. Those clouds dissipated, and then with sunshine this afternoon, more thunderstorms developed over East Texas, and they've been moving steadily toward the west and southwest into the Brazos Valley. Of course, superimposed on the clouds, we have Doppler radar echoes showing those same thunderstorms that you saw just a few moments ago on the storm tracker. Now, temperatures are very hot statewide. Readings are generally in the mid-90s. A little bit cooler, 83 up in Amarillo. Here in the Brazos Valley right now, we've got mostly cloudy skies. Temperatures down to 90 degrees actually at 6 o'clock, dew point 65, humidity 44%. The wind out of the south at 7, pressure falling at 30.02. Gusty winds around those thunderstorms. High today, 96. Our morning low, 74 degrees, so temperatures just a little above normal all the way around. That's going to change big time for the latter half of the week. Finally, here's your sunrise for tomorrow morning, 7:03, and sunset tomorrow evening at 7:46. When we come back, we'll have a look at the forecast map and check out the 5-day outlook with some big changes after a cold front moves through.
Bob French's Weathercast has received a seal of approval from the American Meteorological Society. Bob French, Roger Berry, and Aaron Tuttle, the new Star 3 weather team.
They're only 14, but they've got high hopes, big hearts, and real heroes. You'll stand up and cheer for the class of 2000, Thursday. Join CBS News and News Star 3's Jenny Lee as we update some of the trials and challenges these kids are facing as they begin their second year of high school. The class of 2000, Thursday from 9 to 10 on TV3. Brought to you by Fred Brown Mazda BMW Volkswagen.
Here's our forecast map for tomorrow. Let's take a look at a cold front moving down across the plains. This front will actually move on into central Texas by late tomorrow afternoon, and it'll bring us an even better chance for showers and thunderstorms tomorrow than we've got around right now. In other words, we're looking for a good coverage of rain. Also thunderstorms along with the warm front over the Rocky Mountains. This front will be backed up by high pressure, which will ridge down into our area and also over the eastern portions of the country, and it'll bring sunshine back later in the week, but we think tomorrow and Thursday we'll see more clouds around as this front moves slowly across the area and out into the Gulf of Mexico. Meanwhile, our forecast for this evening, partly cloudy skies. For this evening, partly cloudy and scattered thunderstorms. Those will die out. Low tonight around 73 degrees. Tomorrow's high around 95 degrees with scattered thunderstorms again and northeast winds around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then let's check out our 5-day outlook. Again, tomorrow's high around 95 degrees. For Thursday, clouds, high dropping to 89 with a low of 67 after the front. And then bam, look at those lows dropping into the lower 60s and highs only in the mid 80s for Friday. By Saturday and Sunday, we'll have partly cloudy skies. Great football weather, but we will be warming back up. So for Aggies, looks like it'll be a warm day, but not too terribly hot, especially if you're sitting there in the student section. I know you get worried about sunburn and heat stroke here the first couple of games of the season. Looks like it'll be a pleasant day, still fairly low humidity, but we'll be warming back up by the weekend. Look for some pleasant weather, though, for the latter half of this week.
Sounds great. Thank you, Bob.
All right.
We turn now to the case of a crime that you might be able to help solve. Recently, a Bryan Fitness Club was the scene of a burglary. Brazos County Sheriff Chris Kirk has the details in this week's Crimestoppers report.
Sometime after 10:15 p.m. on Sunday, July 27th, thieves broke into the Arrowfoot Royal Oaks location at 4455 Carter Creek Parkway in Bryan. The thieves found their way into the club through an unlocked utility door, then crawled through the ceiling into the manager's office. Finding a pair of bolt cutters and the keys to the building, the thieves proceeded to cut open or unlock lockers and storage areas. The burglars stole some items from the lockers and maliciously ransacked the facility, throwing weight equipment through mirrors and discharging fire extinguishers. Damages and losses are estimated to be over $2,000. Bryan police detectives believe that the thieves were familiar with the club's operations and had planned their attack.
It's our belief that possibly more than one person committed this burglary and that they have possibly bragged or told somebody about this.
These vandals and thieves obviously knew something about this facility and may have even lived in the area. If you have information that could help catch them, call Crimestoppers at 775-TIPS. You don't give your name when you call Crimestoppers, and you could earn a cash reward. For News Star 3 and Crimestoppers, I'm Sheriff Chris Kirk.
Coming up next in sports, football and lots of it, including Ask the Coach. Jim the Barber Norris makes his return to TV3 Sports, and Brian Cox blows a fuse as the Bears blow the game in Green Bay. Daryl's up next.
Wouldn't you like to have some fresh ideas every single day that will transform you from a dreamer into a doer? Well, now you can with Martha Stewart Living.
Spark your creativity with a sense of style and elegance. Cultivate all the things in your world. Whether it's cooking, decorating, gardening, or entertaining, you'll learn something new every day with my new show, Martha Stewart Living.
Martha Stewart Living, beginning Monday, September 8th on TV3.
It's a good thing.
We've got something to talk about.
Life is like a juggling act, and believe me, sometimes you drop a ball. But that's okay. You pick up the ball and you keep on going. All people need is a little reassurance in life, and I'm hoping we can give them a push in that right direction that lets them know, hey, you're doing okay.
Now Gail's got something to talk about.
The Gail King Show, beginning Monday, September 8th on TV3. Hometown Heroes 97 is brought to you by Jimmy Copeland, Jeep Eagle Chrysler Plymouth, and Planters and Merchant State Bank.
Well, okay then, let's get on to some football news and a team that's near and dear to many of us.
Yeah, the Aggies getting ready to kick things off.
Darn
Saturday.
time, too.
Yes, it is. It's hot out there and time for some football. The Aggies open up the 97 season Saturday afternoon at 4 over at Kyle Field, and the Sam Houston State Bearcats will be the first hurdle the Aggies have to clear. And entering his 4th season, Jim Norris from the Redmond Terrace Barbershop is back with the pulse of the Brazos Valley and armed with another question for A&M head football coach R.C. Slocum.
Well, first of all, let's wish the team good luck in 97. My question for RC today is, with the big change we've made this last year in the coaching staff, especially the offensive coaches, are we going to see a drastic change in our offensive scheme this year?
In any season from one year to the next, you have some little subtle changes. I'd say that ours will not be wholesale. It won't look like a totally different offense. But hopefully the execution of what we're doing will improve over what we had last year.
More on the Aggies tonight at 10. Dallas Cowboys guard Nate Newton is off the hook for now. A Dallas County grand jury declines to indict the Pro Bowl lineman who faced sexual assault allegations. He was never charged, but could be back in court later for a civil suit. But for now, Nate says he's just trying to avoid being a distraction for the team.
Yeah, I don't want to be a distraction for my team. My teammates have backed me to the fullest. I've talked to several of my teammates, several of our leaders of the team. And from the beginning, they have backed me. And I promised them that if I can get through this, I want to try to be less of a distraction for my team. That's all I want to do.
There's been no word from the NFL on whether the league will fine Chicago Bears linebacker Brian Cox, but the Bears have hit their hothead, $10,000 with a fine. Cox blew up during last night's game against the Green Bay Packers and was flagged for 3 straight unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. By the way, Cox's Bears got beat 28-24. High school football season kicks off this Friday in a scheduling change for the A&M Consolidated Tigers. Now listen up, their opener with Lake Highlands will kick off at 7:30. Instead of the 8 o'clock, which is posted on the schedule. The Tigers get started at 7:30. Tonight's high school spotlight shines on the Huntsville Hornets. Doug Smith and company returning 15 starters, including running back Kenneth Johnson. But the Hornets are not changing a ground attack. They still like to throw it.
I don't think that's any secret. We would rather throw it than run it. But at this point in time, probably the strongest part of our offense is going to be our running game, because we do have a running back that is a legitimate, bona fide running back that can make the big run and make the short runs.
Kenneth Peli Johnson is his nickname.
Going to make the highlight reel there?
He probably will have quite a few highlights for those Huntsville Hornets this year. Of course, they open up at home on Friday night over at Bowers Stadium.
All righty, we'll watch for him.
All right.
Thank you, Darryl. Stay with us. The Evening Report returns in about 2 minutes.
Tonight's Texas Aggie Football Report is brought to you by Jimmy Copeland Chrysler Plymouth Jeep Eagle in Tomball, Texas.
Here are a few of the stories we're working on for tonight's edition of News Star 3 Lakecast. A postal worker opened fire today in a Miami post office, wounding 2 customers before killing himself. We'll have the latest on the investigation into the crash that killed Princess Diana and 2 others this weekend in Paris. And there's some good news on the fight, on the front, I should say, of the fight to form against the form of muscular dystrophy. Plus, reporter Dave Taylor will explain why Texas Secretary of State Tony Garza wants to see the federal government ease up on one part of the Voting Rights Act. Tune in for these stories and a lot more tonight at 10 on Lakecast. Thanks for joining us here on the Evening Report. Until we see you at 10 o'clock, have a great evening.